Joining us now is one of only 10 Republicans representatives who says that we should just pass a clean, standalone bill to fund the government and stop the shutdown. He represents a district in Virginia that is home to one of the highest proportions of military personnel in the whole country. Conservative Republican Congressman Scott Rigell, thank you very much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate you willing to talk about this.
Happy to do it, Rachel.
Let me just start by asking you something that I think the whole country is wondering about, and maybe you as a House Republican, you know, even though we don't. How long do you expect this shutdown to go on? Do you see a way out yet?
Well, it'll probably go on a few days. I hope it stops tomorrow. I certainly listened to your introduction. If I may say that the gerrymandered districts, you're on to something there. Now, you only got it half right because, yeah, there are some districts that are skewed hard R's, but conversely, there are just as many that are skewed hard Democrat. Sure. And so I tell you, both sides have contributed to the dysfunction that we have up here. I really believe that gerrymandered districts are the principal cause of gridlock in Washington, and we've got to get away from this, and I'm committed, whether in office or not. Next time we have these redistricting efforts, certainly in Virginia, we've got to do something about this. It's not right for our country.
If we did nonpartisan districting, some states do that. Not every state works the way that we've seen in these intensely partisan processes. If we had some sort of national standard for expert redistricting and district line drawing that was not done by one of the parties to their own advantage, do you think any Republicans would support that?
Well, they've got to. Look, I tell Americans in our district, look, we've got to be involved in this process because we really can't continue this way. And Rachel, some of the things that you said I agree with, but some I really sharply disagree with. That won't surprise you. Yeah. You know, those 80 members that you said are absolutely committed to a shutdown, I disagree with that. I've never heard that privately or publicly. You know, we don't have a regular appropriations process here anymore, and not since I've been in office in 33 months. The House has been dysfunctional. The Senate has been dysfunctional. I blame both parties, both houses of government. We went on a 5.5-week break when only 4 of our 12 appropriations bills have been passed. The Senate hadn't even passed one of the 4 that we did send over there. So what do we end up with? Continuing resolutions. They harm our country, and they're not right. And so we were trying to express our best ideas for policy via the continuing resolution. I was one who was saying, look, I don't think that we ought to advance the Affordable Care Act. I got a call just yesterday from a union member who was upset. I thought he was going to be upset with me. He said, no, I'm upset with this law because it's affecting his health care. So I think a delay certainly was in order, and I'm sorry we didn't get it.
But I understand that you and I would disagree, and a lot of Americans would disagree about the health of the budget process and how the parties in each House of Congress is proceeding. But where we're at right now is pass a continuing resolution that doesn't make policy, that just is a continuing resolution, or the government stops. You obviously believe it's not worth stopping the government.
Well, that's true.
In order to try to force policy into this process. But why don't I mean, you are one of 10 Republicans who has said this is the way to go, that we shouldn't have the shutdown. That's less than 5% of your caucus. Why don't Republicans
I think there's
see
more.
the shutdown as too costly?
I think there's more. I look at it this way. We are down to the lift that we were trying to get across the curb here was the delay of the individual mandate. We'd given up lots of things. We'd actually made major concessions along the way, and I was disappointed, maybe not surprised, but disappointed that the Senate basically told us to pound sand. Really, I thought we were negotiating and trying to, in a good faith effort, to advance something, but we got down to the individual mandate, a 1-year delay, plus the stopping the subsidies of health care for members of Congress and staff. Both I think ought to be advanced. But we have to consider the trade-off, which is a lot of pain economically, damage to our military, and to me, it just didn't make sense to us to continue to hurt our economy and our men and women in uniform to advance those 2 goals. We'll fight another day, but I do think we ought to stop where we are now and go ahead and fund the government and get us back on track.
I hear you when you say that what you have to balance now is the cost of not moving ahead versus moving ahead. Whether or not this was the right place to be negotiating over Obamacare, I think is someplace where we would dramatically disagree. But where we stand right now, you are one of a few Republicans who actually is trying to get us out of this shutdown. And I appreciate your willingness to explain your point of view to us tonight, Congressman.
Sure thing.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Congressman Scott Rigell of Virginia.